I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
I'm really here. Just hang on. See, I told you I was here. Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about mental fitness, EQ, and mindset. And what the heck do they have in common? I'm really excited. It's our monthly panel. I've got a couple of excellent guests, actually 3, and a co-host and 2 lovely guests as we have. And everybody's here ready to rock and roll. But before we do that, if you're watching us live today, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. And if you happen to be catching us on the replay, #replay, and let us know where you're watching us from. If you have a question, a comment, some feedback, please send it our way so that we can provide the best content and answer some of the questions you may have. And of course, share this out with people you know and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm going to have a shameless plug for myself and my peers. So hang on whilst I go to that spot of my Studio Gurus page, which is right here.
I get shit done.
No, we've already heard that one. So if you're watching us today, it's your lucky day. It's the reason it's lucky is for you is if you ever have a question for a business coach, there's 3 to 4 of us on here right now. So you could reach out to us once we give you our contact information, and we'd be happy to answer and address any question you may have. And if it's not one of the 4 of us, we know people who can answer some really good questions. So don't be shy. Send us your questions. Really appreciate that. So again, today we're going to be talking about mental fitness, EQ, and mindset. Understand the importance of developing our full potential, learn how to live with our intention, overcome daily challenges, and reach or exceed your goals. So you don't want to miss what we're going to be talking about today. Be ready to take lots of notes, and I'm going to bring up the panel, and everybody's going to pop in and introduce themselves. And here we go. Hello and good day, everybody. Thanks for being here. It's awesome to have you guys join me. I'm going to start with you guys doing your self-introductions. Might be the easiest way to do it. Mickey, if you'd like to introduce yourself as my co-host.
Wow. Well, first of all, my name is Mikeworth, and super glad to be here. I'm a business. What I am is a math geek. So I'm the most lovable math geek that you'll have. Most people are looking to hang out with me because they need to know how to make it work, right? That they need a spreadsheet that's functional. They need to know how money goes in what direction and why. And so that's really why people hang out with me, because they need a money geek that actually understands how to make the business work. And it's super helpful that I was the top woman in finance twice. So not only do I think that, my peers think that. So that's kind of fun.
Cool. Thanks for that. And welcome. Glad to be with you again this month. Kerrie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kerrie Hoffman. I am CEO of Hoffman Digital. I work with executives so they can understand the new digital ways of working, and they can really excel at this accelerated pace of business that we're experiencing. And I do that through a couple of companies. I am a focal point business coach, as well as I run Get Digital Velocity with a partner where we do consulting with large firms.
And Stacey, bringing us home.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Stacey Barnes, and I have been described as a lot of things. A math geek is not one, so I'm very happy to be involved with Mickey here because I can use that in my life too. But I am also a focal point business coach and have another community called Summit Mentorship that I run as well. And my my goal in life is just to add value to people, and I believe we can change the world through business, leadership, and education, and that's what I'm all about.
So for the audience watching us today, or down the road on the replay, you can see why I'm excited and feel honored to have this show today with some really powerful people. As you can see, I'm Coach Phil, the host of The Business Renovator, but I'm the lucky one for being here with these three people that decided that they would honor my invitation and be here. So we're going to talk about things that are around emotional quotient, which is EQ in the simpler form. We're going to also talk about PQ, which is positive intelligence. And we're going to talk about mindset and mental fitness. And why is that important, guys and gals? Why is that a hot topic these days?
Well, I have to notice the elephant in the room. Phil, we've never gotten to see all these books behind you.
I know, they're not mine.
Where are you?
I'm in Central Time Zone, and these are not a lot of books. They seem like a lot of books, but if you know the iceberg identity metaphor,
Yeah.
this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yesterday, I'm in Manitoba right now, hanging out with a friend of mine, a partner in business and in life, as in terms of buddies and his family, and they've just moved into this new home. They're combining a couple of homes into one home. This is their forever home, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We moved, I don't know how many boxes now, 80, 90 boxes full of books that are all stacked in order. You'd like it because he's a very geeky kind of math guy. He knows numbers really well. So when he was picking the boxes, I don't understand how he did the math to get them in the order that he did. He just said, okay, I need 72, 33, and 11. Okay, we went and looked for him and passed them to him. He was stacking them in order. And the reason he's stacking them in order, because there's 3,000 more books in these boxes that the shelves for them haven't been built yet. But they're ready to go in chronological order. He just takes box number one and goes this on the shelf and then carries on. So
isn't that crazy? So that
books.
It's the tip of the iceberg. So one, there's a lot of knowledge that you're just hanging out with.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're just one more book on your shelf, I think. In the shelf
or three.
Right. We're just three more.
Yeah.
So yeah. You know, Kerrie, I feel like we should go to you for the definition of EQ. You want to give it to us?
The definition. I was going to go somewhere else. I was going to say that. I love the books because we need to be continuous learners.
Oh yeah.
Right now, right? Because business is changing so rapidly. There's so much going on. And you have to be on your toes and you have to continuously learn things. So I kind of love the book metaphor, and the reason why continuous learning is so important and we can connect that to mindset is because we need to keep an open mind, learn new things, and then apply it to our businesses and our life.
I like the idea about keeping an open mind. And before I jump on that and dissect it some, because I think it's a great thing to do. Often when I have not so much a one-on-one coaching session, but when I'm facilitating a group training or coaching, I often compare or invite them and ask them, encourage them to be like a parachute. It works best when you're falling out of the plane if it's open. And so will this training, right?
I'm going to steal that one.
Yep, teachable spirit. We want people to have a teachable spirit. We've got to be constant and continuous learners. But I love the parachute analogy. I'm pinching that one as well.
It's called leverage.
I was going to take teachable spirit. So,
Me too.
Whenever, do you go back and watch these?
Do I? Yes.
No? Yes. So I go back and watch this. And what I notice about myself is that I can tell all of you are always so interesting that I watch myself write down whatever you just said. So I was trying to write it down without looking really obvious.
You know, when you're not on camera, apparently it's okay not to look at the camera.
Yeah. There we go. It's really good. But yes, that's teachable spirit.
Yeah.
I'm pinching that.
Okay, well, I got my nugget. Thanks for being on the show today. And wow, this is just a start. So let's go to the EQ question now, Kerrie. You want to give your definition of what that is or what that means?
Yeah, sure. So emotional intelligence is how I usually refer to it. And I think it's really understanding and being aware of who you are, how you show up, and to make sure that you are open to everything around you and understanding people and listening, right? When you're engaging with people in relationships, listening more than you're talking. So just that general awareness and that emotional intelligence of how you show up. I think is so key. Of course, there's so many other facets to emotional intelligence, so I'll let other people join.
Yeah, Stacey, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I love the way Kerrie started out with it starts with me. It's about me becoming more self-aware of who I am and how I behave in certain situations and what my triggers and what those things that kind of set me off and the things that get me on the right track are, so that I can leverage those to my advantage. And then just becoming more situationally aware of the things and the people that are around me, so that I can also adapt my behavior and my way of doing things to connect better with them. At the end of the day, to me, EQ is a lot about just having a deeper and more meaningful connection with the other people around me.
Yeah, cool. And
Yeah.
Mickey, what's your thoughts about what EQ is?
Well, I teach prosperity. That's what I've dedicated my life to, is the concept of prosperity, understanding it. So in EQ, when we talk about it from a prosperous mindset, which is always my point of view, it is understanding self-regulation. It is really saying, look, this is how, in my teachings, we really look at this as loving dominion, right? That dominion is something I hold over, right? So when I'm looking at how I'm out in the world and how am I talking to people, I'm looking at that loving dominion, right? What is the kindest, gentlest, most loving, thoughtful way I could go through this? So when I think of EQ for myself as a leader, it's understanding that I have a self-regulation, that is how I'm going to walk through the world, and I have to choose that. So yes, that's within myself, but it's within myself with understanding, right, what you had talked about, Kerrie, which is, who am I? What am I bringing to the table, right? Stacey, what you said too, of who am I? But for me, it's really adding that extra layer of what is the work I'm creating in the world.
Yeah, I like all three of what you guys are talking about. One of the things I really like about the EQ is the awareness component. The challenge I have with EQ, and I think EQ is way more important than IQ. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. What I've experienced, though, is if you have somebody who's a low EQ and you're a highly efficacious, get stuff done kind of individual, and you're very dictatorial, you could crush them for a couple of hours, half a day, a week, and they're still on the payroll and you're still paying them. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to make people feel like less than themselves versus being their full self? So one of the challenges I face in my own world is, what can I do to help myself and others raise their EQ? Well, that's why I'm excited why we're here today, to talk a little bit of. I have a tool and a resource to help us do that, and I know Stacey's experienced it firsthand. I continuously do it, and that's where this mental fitness thing comes in. And PQ, so positive intelligence, is the how to raise the skill set, the efficacy, the get stuff done stuff in terms of the EQ. So if somebody is has a low EQ, they're unaware and they shut down when they're being managed or mismanaged, because some people don't know how to manage. That's why we do what we do, right, boys and girls, to help people who want to change, to open up their parachute. So I'm excited to drip some of that information as we go through this panel today. PQ is the how, EQ is the what and why. That's the way I look at it.
I think that's really like worth. So if I'm writing it down, I'm sure our guests are writing it down, that who people are or who are watching it, because I haven't heard it. That's new to me. Is that part of the? You guys are all in Focal Point. No.
No, it comes from Positive Intelligence. So if you go to positiveintelligence.com, or if you want to do your own self-assessment on your positive intelligence at the end of today's show, I will have a link where you can actually go do that.
Yeah, I think that's
great.
There's
no cost. And if you wanted to have a debrief or a review, matter of fact, Mickey, if you want to go through that yourself, off camera, and we could do that when you have another minute or two. Do the assessment. I'll help you understand what the debriefing is all about.
Right. Well, I think our guests. I mean, I think the people watching the show are going to really enjoy that.
I think so too.
That's a value add.
I think so too, Phil. It's the way you described it, I think is apt. And what PQ provides are some tools and techniques to kind of just help you activate the portions of your brain that will then make you more aware and bring you back centered to a place that you can be a better you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we have 10 saboteurs and one main one. And so 9 supporting casts and a main one. Not all of us have all the 9 supporting casts, but we have some of them. And they served us really well when we were young. There's no more saber-toothed tigers to worry about. So we still leave that programming around. Sean Aker says that in our unconscious, subconscious mind, our default is 75% of the time we're negative. That's all of us, even the 4 of us in here. So what can we do to change it and be more on our sage-like, or the possibility thinking and being a state of flow and creativity versus stress and angst and, oh my God, isn't the world awful? Yes, there are some awful things in the world, but the world's not awful. It's how we show up and how we perceive it. So PQ is a way to help us get back into the possibility to be positive more than negative. It's not Pollyannic. Just because I'm talking about this doesn't mean I don't have saboteurs and doubts and concerns. It's been amazing in my journey as it's taken a lot of stuff I already knew, but it's given me a way to bring it together and make change happen fairly easily.
Yeah, it's not Pollyanna at all. And actually, there's a lot of science behind what you're saying, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
there's something called the emotional vibrational scale.
Right.
And what it does is it matches emotions to vibration levels. So emotions like ecstasy, love, joy, those are the highest vibrational emotions. And the lowest ones are like depression. And it goes all the way from about 700 megahertz down to 10 megahertz. And those vibrations, we send them out into the world and we attract back like things. That's the whole basis for the law of attraction. But before the book The Secret, I mean, there's been decades and millennia of information on this that we seem to have to learn over and over again. And what you said about 75% of us are, like 75% of the time we're in the negative. The majority of the time, people are in the bottom half of the vibrational emotional scale,
Yeah.
and we need to rise ourselves up,
Yes.
right?
Rise
And
up.
and so if we're looking for a quick tip, like how can we get out of that when you're feeling like the negative emotions, how do you get out of it? The quickest way to get out of it is with gratitude. And I've always heard, we should be gracious, we should have gratitude, we should practice gratitude. And I never knew why. And when I learned that it's the way to flip us out of the negative half of the vibrational emotional scale up to the top, I was like, oh, now I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a great thing to do, but when it can have that kind of effect, that's huge.
Yeah.
And a difficulty that we face, the world we're in now with technology where it is, our phones, our apps, our TVs, our radios, our all the different things, we're bombarded with thousands of messages every single day, and very few of those messages are positive. And so we have to be very intentional about this. It is so easy to forget all the things in life that we should be grateful for, all of the wins that you and I talk about, Phil, and as we're discussing our 100 win list. And it's every time we talk, it's like, have you put that on your list? It's like, you know what? I didn't even think that way. And so it's so easy to not be grateful for the things that are right in front of us. But when you start to intentionally focus your time and your thoughts on gratitude, the change is immediate. And so it's absolutely amazing. But the difficulty is getting through the noise that's out there. We're just bombarded with so many negative messages.
Yeah. So that's why the words mental fitness are part of the headline today. It's developing the muscle in our mind to be like our biceps and our triceps and our quads. Those take effort to keep them in good sound health. So does this. And there's a way to do it. And there's more than one way to do it, but I've just found one that's really quite simple and easy to do. But as the great late Jim Rohn used to say, if it made sense to walk around the block and it was easy to do. Why don't people do it? Well, because it's easy not to do it as well. And it goes back into the 75% of our mind is, yeah, I'll get around that one day, someday I'll. Like Brian Tracy's always telling us to vote us off that someday island because it's a waste of time. So, yeah.
But sometimes I'll write down a note from what you guys are saying. And what I love about that I've been looking down at doing is on this other piece of paper that I wrote your note on, which is what I love about that is for all of the people that are watching and for each other, right, is to know that you have a flip switch, right? That you can just flip it and change the energy that you are experiencing. And I think that's where people forget about that energy exchange is it's not just, you don't want to move from negative to positive just because you want to do it, also because you'll feel better.
Yeah.
Like you'll feel lots better immediately. And I saw that Melanie had a question for us too.
Yeah, she's asking about what it is that Stacey and I are talking about, this 100 list. And it's something it's part of my, part of my being. It's been a game changer for me personally, and everybody I interact with is from the coaching training space. I'll get introduced to it. And it's one of the ways to change and build up our mental toughness, our mental fitness. And how many here in this room actually have a 100+ success list? Right?
Wow.
Three of us. That's awesome. So to answer Melanie's question, what is it? So if you go back and think about all of the wins and successes you've had in your life, from the time you were born to today, how many successes could you put on the list? And one of the worst isn't the best word, saddest cases I was working with a high school basketball team with my niece was one of the coaches and the teachers. And she asked me if I would come in. So I said, yeah, one of the things we'll do as a prerequisite was to have the team, have the girls come up with a list of their 100 successes. Well, the sad part was one of the girls in grade 10 had only five successes. That's sad. That means that they're not focusing on the things that make them who they is. So the idea of the 100 success list is to make a list of all the things you've done, big or small, recall them all. So I was the one that arrived. I'm born today. That's the first one. And the other things I'm going to suggest is I can't remember them, but if you've got children or had children, or you've seen children, they learn to crawl. They learn to stand up hanging on to something. They learn to stand up with not hanging on anything. They learn to walk. They learn all that stuff. Those are things we take for granted. Now, are those going to be the compelling things that are going to develop your mental fitness fortitude? Probably not. But as we build onto those, like then I get into, I learned to, I got into grade 1. I learned to print. I learned to start to read and I start to math. So that's like 3 things right there. And if we went through everything in our whole life, and if you do this in one sitting and go for 100+ successes, you'll be amazed at the impact it'll have. I've utilized this, and I've had people, when I first was introduced to this concept, and I've modified it over the years to make it a little bit better for me, and that is to start off with a big list like that, get as many as you can, and 100 is the target we shoot for, do it all one sitting. And then eventually, once you've got that done, you scrape off the top 10, so that when you're moving into the new extraordinary, you can turn it into your new ordinary without stress, with positive anticipation instead of negative angst. And it also increases your ability to get, as my tagline says, get shit done. It increases your causative power, your ability to get stuff done. And I want to go
as we go through the list, it can only make you think of that higher vibrational level, because as you're thinking through these things, you're so grateful, and you start to think of things that you had forgotten about when you start through, because you made me go through the timeline of life and all the different ages and stages, and it's things that you haven't thought about in a long time. And so I keep my old school list together right here by the desk, and I've got a digital version too, but this one is here so that I can write it. I believe when you're looking for clarity, clarity is going to come through the lips and the fingertips. It's good to write it and speak it. And so I'm a little bit old school. I write these things down and then scan when I want a digital copy.
The writing is crucial initially, right? And then you can digitize it and take your top 10 and put them onto on your phone, so you can see
Can
them.
you hold that list up again? Can you hold that list up? That was at your fingertips. I mean, you keep that at your desk.
Yeah, it's right here in the desk drawer all the time. And when I feel something needs to go to the list, I break it out and add it to the list.
And so
And
you just put the time, or you don't do any discussion. It's just a list.
just a list. Just
Well,
a
that's
list.
not
Then occasionally
Very
when I'm
simple.
feeling the blues, like we all get, because we can sit here and say these are the ways to keep this bulletproof mindset. Well, there's still times when those of us with a bulletproof mindset need to we need a little help ourselves.
Take a breath.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you can just go back through the list and say, man, there really are some good things. So when you start to doubt, am I the right person to really be doing this? You can look at your list and say, not only am I the right person, I'm the only person that should be doing this. Look at all the things that can back this up. And it just helps you build that.
And
that
you're likely the only person to do it because you're an expert. So one of the things that I have people do when they go through their list of, the 100 things is pick out what your expertise is from that list, right? And how did it grow over time? And it's fascinating how many experiences from your childhood and your junior high and your senior high actually contribute to the expertise that you have today,
Yeah.
because you did so many things you were passionate about as a child. And we need to continue to do that. But I love it as a list, not only to bring you out of the negative, but also to show how your expertise built over time, and maybe even identify your expertise if you don't think you're an expert in something. Everybody's an expert in something.
And the other
I want to go back
difficult
to
part,
you.
Phil, you mentioned how we can tend to be so negative. The missed touchdown in grade school or high school or middle school comes back so much more vividly than all the ones that you caught successfully. And
Yes.
so it takes so many positive things to overcome the one negative that stands out so much. 3 to 1 is the number we use a lot of times. And sometimes I feel like it takes even more than that.
Yeah.
Because it's like at night, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, you wake up and you're thinking of something 20 years ago that went wrong. There's no reason to be thinking about. And so all these different tips and tricks that we can use to keep ourselves in a positive space are just completely vital to our ability to succeed.
Yeah. I want to go back to what Kerrie's talked about being grateful and why being a state of gratitude is important. If we're if you guys have seen the old lady, young lady illusion,
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
right? We can't see both at the same time. It's impossible. But instantaneously, nanosecond or faster than what's faster than a nanosecond? We can toggle back and forth real quick. However, if we do what Kerrie's talking about, being a state of gratitude, doesn't allow the old lady or whichever the negative one is. Age is not the issue. That's just an example. We can't think about bad stuff if we're thinking about good things, right? And it's not to be Pollyannic and forget about that stuff, because some of the bad stuff we've gone through, there's nuggets that have given us longer legs for bigger strides. So one of my mentors' quote was, when she survived cancer, she told her husband, Lou Tice, she said, this kind of things give us longer legs for bigger strides. So when we look at the things that we failed at the time, we did let that goal in as a hockey player. And start looking at the times we made a scintillating save as opposed to the, oh shit, I let one in, right?
So I love the young lady, old lady. I do a team building thing with that, where we divide the team in two and you precondition everyone. So for half the team, you give them a picture of the young lady where all you can see is the young lady. The other half, you give them a picture of the old lady where all you can see is the old lady. And then you give them the picture where it's combined. And it's very difficult to see the opposite of what you were preconditioned for. So
Wow.
when you think about how there's so much negativity in the news and just everywhere, right? It's so much easier for people to talk about the negative and sensationalize it. We're preconditioned for the negative, and so we need to practice that mental fitness in order to get ourselves to be more on the positive side than the negative.
Yeah, really good point. Look at that. I'm getting fancy.
We love it. We love it. We love it. What I also want to go back to what Stacey said is that sometimes when things kind of peek in at the night, that sometimes you're getting a message about something that happened long ago. Can you tell us more about that, Stacey?
Yeah, it's just amazing to me how we have the belief systems within our subconscious that have been there for so long, and they're so hardwired, and they're hard to overcome. And there's a lot of systems out there that say, we can rewire, we can overcome, and we can basically eliminate those negative belief systems and things that we have from the experiences that we've had through our life. I don't really believe we can ever get rid of them altogether. And so my experience is that when you get that feeling, and that inner judge comes up based on those prior experiences, and you're starting to kind of have those doubts, just acknowledge the fact that is in there. So, it's interesting that thought came up at this time. That is who I was at one point, but it's not who I am any further. And then you state the positive that you have going forward. Those things that we have, those belief systems, they are hardwired, and they're in there, and we can rewire and work around, but I don't know that we ever eliminate them. And I think, to me, that's why sometimes those things just pop up seemingly out of nowhere. So there's something in our current life that triggers it, that comes up later on in our subconscious and brings it to the front. And we just have to acknowledge that it's there. But hey, look, that's not who I am or what I am anymore. And this is what I'm becoming every day.
Sometimes I feel like it triggers because it wants to remind us of how we grew from that experience, what the silver lining was. Even like negative feedback, all feedback is a gift, and negative feedback is an even stronger gift because you can learn from it and grow from it. And sometimes I think the trigger is to remind us, hey, you got through that, you grew from that. There's a positive, strong part of you that exists because of that experience.
I'm
Yeah.
right there with you on that. And I think one of the struggles is so many of us wallow in the negative and don't see the learn. We don't accept the learn and the growth that we experience because of it. And so we have to intentionally do that piece of pointing out, I'm so much better because of that terrible experience or whatever it was.
Maybe we just came up with a new 100 list. What were all the positive growth things that happened from our negative experiences?
Yes.
And that could be added. That's like actually when I do the 100 success list, I encourage you to do that, because one of the things that fail is it's an acronym, and it's a brilliant one. Maybe you guys have already heard of it, but for our audience, in case you haven't, fail is first attempt in learning. And when I was coaching hockey, yeah, we did like to win. There was more glory and excitement in winning, but the lessons were in the losses, and how we became better at winning was how good we were at losing. And what we got out of the losses increased our ability to win more games when it really mattered. So there are a lot of good things in failing. Sarah Blakely, if you've never had an opportunity to study that woman, she's a self-made billionaire, $5,000 started her business out of her kitchen while she was selling fax machines. And she's a fascinating story to follow up on for sure. Her dad taught her and her brother that he would ask them at the dinner table, so what did you fail at today? And he would be disappointed if they didn't try something and fail. So totally did a 180 on the meaning of the impact of fail. So what I think we're all saying today is it's okay to fail. Go and do that. And what's the lesson in the, you didn't know what you didn't know until you tried it, right?
Yeah, well, just watch a baby learning to walk.
Yeah.
Do they give up because they fall down and they can't walk? No. You
Do the
fall down
parents,
thousands of times before you learn how to walk.
and the parents don't say, well, it's okay. She doesn't need to walk. It doesn't matter. They don't say that. They
Nope.
encourage her or him.
You'll often hear me when we're doing something in a team meeting or whatever, that you'll hear me go, well, I screwed that up. Okay, great. And that I wasn't mad about it. It was acknowledging that was the wrong turn, or wow, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work. And it's really, again, it's normalizing that it is a jutted path, right? That it's not a smooth thing. We're really carving. We're really taking a bite. We're really trying to get a step. We're really climbing up an uneven terrain. And I think one of the things for me as a leader is also recognizing that I'm always going to not always have it right. And that if it's okay with me, suddenly, right, if I can take off that judgment cloak for myself, it's a lot easier to not put it on someone else. But I had to start right here.
So what I heard you say is it starts with us.
It starts with us, right? You guys all said that about EQ.
And anybody watching with kids, this idea of teaching them that it's okay to fail is important, because our society is not doing a very good job of that. We're very protective. We can't let anyone fail type of a mentality now, but failure is where we grow the most. And so if you're raising your kids, that example that you gave, Phil, is spot on.
Right. Right.
This one's for you, Kerrie. She's getting thanks for Melanie, our friend.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. Glad to share it. You can Google that, by the way, and find the scale. You'll
Cool.
find like tons of images on that scale.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of people just work with that in general
Mm-hmm.
on how they're doing many things. I think it's fascinating work.
Is there a correlation between your geekiness and helping people with abundance and what we're talking about here, Mickey?
Yeah, I'm really focused on prosperity, right? Because that's always the angle I'm coming in from, which is the ability to magnify. And that is that scale. That is that vibrational scale, that when we're magnifying in a way that is appropriate to us, that is full of knowing, that you understand who you are, it really becomes pretty fantastic. Different than magnetization, right? Different than when we're trying to bring something to us. It's a different process. Magnification is, again, that feeling of celebration. It's that energy. It's forward motion. It's getting something moving in a specific direction.
Cool.
And that's a different piece of energy, and it's got a different target points. But that's what this is about, right, Bill? I mean, that's the whole. This is what you bring to the table.
Well, and it's funny how, the vibration happens. You and I met with a LinkedIn connection. We were going to meet for 20 minutes. 2 hours later, we came up with this idea, and it was Mickey's idea, but it came out of me doing the business renovator, which came out from other people and got some other ideas and looking for possibilities. And at the beginning of this, somebody gave me a sideways or backwards compliment, I think. He said, "Wow, you're a lot better than when you started." I went, "Well, that's good, because that means I'm growing and improving." And I think that's something all of us should expect, that when we first start out, we're not very good at what we do because we didn't know what we didn't know. It's just like the infant trying to walk and crawl. My favorite quote that really nails this is T. Harv Eker's, and it's, "Every master was once a disaster." So as we move and get better at things, we become more confident, competent, and I was trying to think of another C, but I can't. So I'll just go with those two. More complete, maybe. Anyway, it ties into what we're talking about today. EQ, positive intelligence, mental fitness, mindset. Seems like all of what we've got in our world today first started with a seed thought out of our brain here, right? Like even, well, this platform I'm on, in the 90s, when I first was learning about computers, we didn't have the internet. It was just starting to evolve,
Yes.
right? And this, which is a mouse, used to be a little animal that was a vermin, and we didn't like it. This one, we're lost without this particular mouse.
On one of your recent episodes, you were quoting Wallace Wattles, and he said everything that you want is brought to you by thought, and then you receive it by action. So it's the thought, and then by action you manifest that thought into reality.
Yeah, so one of the things about The Secret movie, the book, was all inspired by Wallace D. Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich and the Other Things. But the key is that the secret to all of this is you got to take action. You got to plant a seed. And then the more you think about that seed thought, more energy, more intuitive ideas come, and they pull me towards where I'm trying to get to. We can't just think about it and go, Although it is good to quiet down our mind and think about it, but act on those thoughts that show up. Don't let them disappear in the ethernet.
But I also hear you saying that you have to know yourself. And I think that's where emotional intelligence really starts, right? Is what even identifying the areas that you want to be, that you want to lead from, right? That it's to say, these are the things that's important for me to mirror in the world. to build more of. I like the 100 list. Do you have another magic tool on how people get to know why they're leading the way they are leading?
I do, but I'm going to leave that to the end of the show because there's a link where you can go.
Okay. Yeah. Do you guys do that? Do you think about why are you doing the things that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. There's a ton of different behavioral assessments out there, right, that can help you understand yourself and your behavior, your motivators, those types of things. At Focal Point, one of the tools we use is the DISC tool. Which is, it shows the way that you behave. The thing I love about the way we teach it though is you learn about yourself, but you learn how to identify it in other people as well. And the power in communication is when you understand that you need to communicate in the style of the other person, not your style.
That's
And
powerful. That's
it,
powerful.
right. And there's so many different disc profiles out there. We use one from the company TTI, and they very specifically, this will be like, here's your style. And from that style, here is how you can communicate with the other four major styles. And actually, we're a blend. So there's a lot more than four when you look at the blend of the four. But it's so powerful to, again, communicate in the style of the other person, listen more than you're talking, really understand how to relate to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am working currently with a 17-member leadership team. We're doing DISC assessments for everyone, doing team comparisons to look for gaps where they have. I've actually got 2 debriefs after we finish this call today. And so I'm a big fan of that as well. But in order to properly grow ourselves, we have to actually know ourselves. And that's the first step. And so I'm all about just getting to know. I typically use DISC, and then I combine the driving forces in there too, to know
Right.
what we do and then why we do what we do, because that's vital to know what's really driving us to do the things we do. And so combining those two things is very powerful, and it is a wonderful tool for self-reflection. And whenever you're looking at something like this and you're trying to connect deeper with others, Kerrie, I love what you said. It's not what we say or how we say what we say necessarily. It's what they hear.
Mm-hmm.
And what they hear is going to be based on their style. And so that ability to recognize it in others and then adapt just a little bit with our language, our tone, and our body, we can make a much deeper connection. And that starts with knowing myself and then being able to see in others.
This is like magic.
Is this magic? So, Stacey, I'm going to go back to driving forces. Give us a little deeper dive there.
Yeah. So, well, the report we use is from the company TTI, which is our partner, and it's based on the science of Dr. Edward Springer, which has been around for a very long time, and then they've developed it further. And what it does is it gives you a report that's very similar to what you would see in a typical DISC report. But when you look at the paragraphs and you read the language around it, you can tell a slight difference in the wording. And so you're looking at what is it that's really motivating me to behave the way that I do in the workplace. So maybe it's a certain intentionality that I have with things that I do, or maybe there's a certain selflessness where I'm just really into getting things done for the sake of getting things done. I like checking the box off and getting things done. Maybe a stature and just getting the pat on the back, but it kind of digs into what it is about yourself deep down that causes you to behave the way that you do. And combining the two is very powerful. And the difficulty from a standpoint of doing the debriefs, everybody gets into it and they say, and they see a glaring thing that they love to change. And they just have this feeling, I've got to do it overnight. And behavioral change doesn't happen overnight. It happens.
Oh, no.
It doesn't happen in a day. It happens daily, right? With something that we intentionally put on our list and our awareness grows daily. It happens over time. And so I work continually with people on setting a realistic time frame for making those changes based on what we learn about ourselves. And then again, that ability, how can we start practicing to see it in others? So we start with the people we know the best, our family and friends and people around, and we just start to kind of guess what style they may be and how they may react. And you start to put a few little tests here or there, and all of a sudden you realize, man, I'm really connecting on a deeper level than I ever have before.
I call those a low stakes win, right? that I just try to put in a low stakes win. Let me practice this a little bit. See if there's a low stakes win. So Phil, you use this as well. You do you use both the disc model and the driving forces?
I really lean on the disc for sure. I'm not as highly efficacious with the driving forces as my peers are. And I also use another one because I'm spending a lot of time in the sales side, but I use sales IQ, which is different than the IQ that we were familiar with. It's to give you a sense of where you're at right now in your sales habits. And it's an evolving kind of sort of thing. So I get my clients to actually play with that, every 90 to or 3 to 6 months. Can't do my math this morning. Just check in and see where they are, because as they're growing and evolving, what they might find is that what they were not as proficient at the beginning, they've mastered that. Something else in the sales side of things needs to be addressed to help them continue to grow and flourish as sellers. There's a lot of assessments out there that you can utilize that they give you some insights. And again, knowing is one thing, but unapplied knowledge is a waste of time. So make sure that if you're going to take that stuff, that set some goals and some affirmations and declarations to move towards, to increase your life as a journey, right? It's not a destination. So these are just ways to help us get to our maximum potential as individuals.
So I have a new card now of the unapplied knowledge is a waste of time. There's another nugget.
Well, it's like these books, having 3,000 books, which I don't. Again, somebody complimented us on, let me put this up if I can find them real quick here. Comments, it said, what a great looking office. Well, it's Facebook user, not sure who it is. Somebody that knows me, and StreamYard has just not allowed them to put their credentials up
yet.
me.
Yeah.
But thank you for that. It is, but don't get hung up on it. It's not me. It's my buddy Ben's. And this is just, like we said, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more in another room that are in boxes waiting to be put up. But in Ben's case, I would say, if not 100% of them have been read, I would say like 90% of them have been read. He's one of those people that almost has, an idyllic mind? He can almost memorize everything, but not quite. But enough that he remembers things that I've said to him about doing stuff 3 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, man, let it go. So, like he says, it's a curse and a blessing because he can remember a lot of things. He's an awesome individual. He's been a guest on my show too, but those are his books, not mine.
Wow.
And if you notice, my camera angle changed.
Yeah,
I was having technical difficulties, and Ben's watching this right now, and he said, it seems like you're frozen. And I was having trouble with my mic, but I wasn't paying attention to my video. So I've changed it. So we have a slightly different point of view.
And you're moving again.
That's right. I'm not frozen.
So Stacey, I want to go back to something else that you said about the language of intention. I mean, that's really like the driving forces is also right. Is that what it is? Is the language of the intention?
Well, it's a lot more than just that, but I dig into the language of intention a lot because I think if we're going to be on a true plan for growth, personally, professionally, we have to do it with great intent. And so that's a language that I use a lot. And if you want to show me whether you're progressing to where you want to go, the two things I would want to see is your date book and your checkbook. And I know that's old language. Most people don't use a checkbook now, but where your time goes and your money goes, that's really what you believe in and want the most, because that's what you're going to get. And so it's with great intent that we have to overcome all of those pressures that are around us, the whirlwind of stuff that's going on, the internal pressures and judges and things that we have inside of our own head. It's very intentional. And so every single day there needs to be a certain number of things that you're going to do that are helping you progress to become who you want to become.
Yeah, I call it intentional practice. You have to have the intention and then you have to practice it. You have to do something about it, right? You have to take that action that Phil and Stacey have been talking about.
Absolutely.
Right. And how do you get there, you guys? How do you get to the action? how do we invite all of our people into your magic?
Well,
Bill?
one easy tip is to always plan your day and your week. Okay, that might not sound easy, but it is. You can plan your day in less than 4 minutes a day. And the best thing to do is write down the most important thing that you need to get done that day. We as focal point coaches all learn this from Brian Tracy and his book Eat That Frog. But what is the most important thing that you need to do that day? Make sure you write that down and make sure you do it first. Because we all know how the day can get away from us. But when you first start in the morning, do the most important thing first. Simple.
Yep. And a friend and colleague of mine, Nicole, she has this technique where she sets an alarm that goes off periodically through the day. And that alarm is to remind her to think, is what I'm working on right now, right this minute, the most important thing I'm supposed to be working on right now, right this minute. And if it's not, then you stop or delegate it or eliminate it, and you get back to working on what was the most important thing. And the mindset has to be that when you have that one thing and you do it, don't go straight to number two. Do a quick reevaluation and make sure you're always working on the number one thing.
Oh, I love the timer.
That's a beautiful set of nuggets.
Right.
Those are gems.
Coach, what else you got for us, Phil?
Oh, well, thanks. I'm going to put myself on the spot here. Watch me do this. Wow, that's a great question, putting myself on the spot. I actually do something like that, plan the night before the night before, because then it allows me to tap into my subconscious mind. And sometimes I can get myself in trouble. So be careful you're not too excited about what you're trying to get done, because I find myself, my brain just gets turned on and won't shut up. So I try to do it earlier in the day so that adrenaline and the excitement dissipates a little bit, so that I can actually go to sleep calmly and let my elephant mind do all of the work. So then wake up in the morning, I'm inspired and driven to get more stuff done.
Oh, and there's more science behind what Phil is saying. So our subconscious mind works 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Our conscious mind only works while we're awake.
Yes.
So he is putting his subconscious mind to really good use. Also, your subconscious mind is very easily to influence the 45 minutes before you go to sleep. So don't be doing negative stuff and watching scary movies and watching the news 45 minutes before you go to sleep.
Yeah, and also the other thing too is don't start your day with all those things that Kerrie's just asked us not to do. Start it off with being grateful. What are you thankful for? What are you looking forward to? Do those things to start your day off on the right foot, literally.
Yeah, because the 45 minutes after you wake up is the same kind of, it's very influential on your subconscious.
I believe the experts call that the alpha wave.
Yes, you are
We're
correct.
in that, we're like sponges. And as we get older, our sponges are getting full. So we need to do all of the tricks. Unlike kids, their minds, they absorb it all. But that's another topic for another day. I want to make sure that I let people know how to get hold of each one of you. So as I put you up in my magical way, I do this. Bear with me. It's not quite that magical, but it's kind of cool. I'm going to go down to where there it is, and I'm going to bring Kerrie up magically. Look at this. Just tell us a little bit about that.
So the easiest way to find me is to go to hoffmandigital.com, that QR code in the corner. You can just point your camera towards it. It'll take you to the website. That takes you to both my companies as well as some resources, some video series. One is under a tab called Brilliant, and it talks about how we've exited the industrial age and entered the next stage. And the other set of material is on their tab called Mind Power, which will give you a whole bunch of videos and material on using the power of our mind.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Thanks for being and sharing with us today.
Thank you, Phil.
I got to add you back. Apparently I pushed the wrong button. And while I'm, go ahead, Stacey, I'm going to make you big. And here's your URL.
I'm just enjoying seeing the joy in your face as you get these things working the way you want them working. That's fun. But CoachStaceyB.com, that will take you to my Focal Point Business Coach site. There's a download there that you may find helpful. There's your business growth scorecard, which I know everyone would find helpful in what you're trying to accomplish within your business. Pretty easy to reach. The contact information is all there. Love talking to people, and would look forward to talking to anyone that's interested in just having a chat about what it is you're trying to accomplish in life. And as we're talking gratitude, I'm grateful to be a part of a group here that appreciates geekiness. While I like to say I'm not officially a geek, I do have geek-like tendencies. So I feel like I'm part of a new family here. This has been fun.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And Mickey, you're going to be larger than life. There you are.
Larger than life. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I like having a new family. Today was really great. I love being with brilliant people. The easiest way, here is my name, Mickey Mikeworth. I own MikeworthConsulting.com. The fastest way to find me is on LinkedIn. I am blessed to be one of the very few people who has the only person on planet Earth with my name. So if you search Mickey Mikeworth, gosh darn it, it's me. So go ahead. It's easy to find me. I'm all over, but LinkedIn is kind of the easiest place. And then you can kind of see some of the magic that we're doing out in the community. I like to create, really interesting social change. So we have the $1 Million Smile Club that's going live that we're taking applications for, and that's where we're going to change the generational wealth of 12 people so that we can change their path for their future generations. So that's a project that's open right now. We're in small business cohort, and just doing the magic, just doing the everyday magic. So LinkedIn, I'm always around.
That's brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. Gentleman. Yeah, he is gentle. I've seen him on the stage, but he's gentle. He's a gentle giant. He's very efficacious. Wow, that was a lot of fun for me, and I'm hoping that our audience will have taken some of the notes, but more importantly, acted on one or two of the ideas. Don't try to eat the whole elephant in one bite. Just take a nibble and apply that and see what happens. And then come back to the replay to catch the other thing that you were going to do, and listen to my friends and peers as they shared their knowledge with us today. Thank you, everybody, for being here today with me and the audience. And one of the things I like about the internet is this will be there forever. So you never know when somebody's going to come across this in 5 years, going to reach out to you and ask you for your help. That's my intent for everybody. So I appreciate you all being here. Hang out with me for a little bit, and I'll be right back.
Bye, everybody.
Well, I know I say this every time. I'm so excited that I had this panel and that this all came together, and it's evolving into being better and better each time. And it's because of the people that show up and help support this. The monthly panels are such a treat for me to host and help share and get great content for everybody else. It reminds me of this right here, as I'm going to encourage all of you to be your unique and wonderful self. The you and wonderful is deliberate. It's not an accident. I want you to be wonderful. I have another way of showing it out. I'm going to do it because we're in a panel. I know my video coach would say, no, you don't do that. It's covering your face. But you know what? Be wonderful. Be your unique self. Take the tips and tricks and ideas that you've got today and run with them. I do have an offer for you. I need to go back. If you want to dig into more about what your saboteurs are, you could go to positiveintelligence.com/saboteurs. But you can look around the site too. There's a lot of great content in there. And there isn't a link back to me to let me know that you've actually done this. So if you would like to have a 20-minute review debrief of what this really all means, because there might be some things in there that might be challenging your thinking, don't be afraid of it. Reach out to me and let's set up a time to do that. And where can you do that? Well, you go to phil@coachphil.ca and let me know that you would like to. And all you have to do is put PQ in the subject line, attach your assessment, and away we go. We'll set up a time to make it happen. I see there's a couple of private chats. Make me sure I'm not going to miss anything. Yeah, that's it for today. I'm going to go back to the branding part of my show and wish you all well. Have a great rest of the week. And remember, this is the Business Renovator. If you know somebody who would be a great panelist or a guest, or the story that you want them to share, make an introduction, and we'll make sure we get it on the air.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.